Now, the last game on your list is one I'm very curious to hear your take on, because so many people have such strong opinions about Star Wars Outlaws. And, because of weird scheduling, we haven't even really talked about this game on the show yet. Tell me where you land with the big open world Ubisoft Star Wars game.
Okay, so I want to preface by saying I'm still relatively early as far as I can tell. Like, I have done several, key story missions already, but just you get the sense this game's pretty big. I feel like I'm still peeling back the onion of what it is, but this is a game I've been wanting for a while. Not even the game itself, but just the premise. I love Star Wars, but as much as I do, I've always wanted either not even just the games, but fiction to move beyond Jedi, Sith, lightsaber stuff, and explore other facets of the universe. That's why I was such a big fan of The Mandalorian. Of okay, a bounty hunter, cool. Let's just do that for a while.
Right.
So this giving me the smuggler fantasy that I've always wanted, because every time a game tried to do a smuggler game in recent years, it always got canceled. Rest in peace, Project Ragtag. So it's finally one of these got out. And I'm enjoying it so far. I can definitely understand some of the criticism around it, because I think in terms of I'm playing on PS5, it's got its jank to it. There's some gameplay in general is everything you do feels maybe a step off, and I'm still trying to figure out or articulate what it is exactly, because it's not bad necessarily, but everything feels a little either hitchy or just a bit less responsive than you want it to, whether it's some of the combat or shooting or even just the kind of Uncharted style platforming, but it's not enough to ruin the game. But you do notice it. I love the vibe of it. This game, I think when people think of open world Star Wars games, because I think Ubisoft is billing this as the first true open world Star Wars game, which had people go well, is it? And it's I think sort of in the way that they're selling it, because as much as I love the Jedi Survivor games, those aren't about living in the Star Wars world, because everywhere you go, it's more or less just a big combat arena, right? You're not really interacting with characters or seeped into the world. You're just murdering stormtroopers basically. And then the second game got close to that with the kind of hub planet you kept going back to.
Right.
And this game is what if we just did that planet all the time? Where it's okay, this is what I wanted. I'm in this seedy city and there's NPCs everywhere and you're hearing all these side conversations and everyone here could probably shoot you or knife you if they wanted to. And you're okay, I'm getting my, I'm in the seedy underbelly of Star Wars vibe that I've been wanting. That's cool. I just want to exist in this universe without being shot at constantly.
Right. Yeah. But does it feel like Assassin's Creed Star Wars?
No, it depends. When you think of Assassin's Creed, I feel first and foremost, I think of platforming and the parkour stuff. And this game doesn't have that from what I've seen. There's platforming, but it's much closer in the Uncharted vein than
you're not climbing to the top of buildings.
No, not really. At least from what I've played so far. I guess stealth. I guess if there's only old Assassin's Creed where stealth mattered, this game is very stealthy. There's mandatory stealth sections,
which they say they're patching some of the early level stealth. I think it's coming out in a week or 2 weeks. They've said.
I think I don't think they're patching to remove it. No, patching to make it easier.
Checkpoints, yeah.
It is pretty rough. I did the first mandatory stealth sequence that is probably what most people were complaining about. It's pretty unforgiving in a way that I heard someone compare it to old school Splinter Cell. And I think that's not too far off of you get there's a sequence where you're stealthing from Imperials and it's the moment you get seen, they raise an alarm and it's very much they heard you, Sam. You just got to start over. Well, not start from scratch, but you got to do sometimes a lengthy stretch again. And I was stuck there for a long time. So it's I guess I'm a stealth fan, so I guess I appreciated that it's you really got to be on your game and not be seen, but you're surrounded by dudes and your windows of openings to sneak by are pretty limited, or you almost have to create them yourself. So at least I probably would have wanted my stealth too hard than too easy ultimately. but I think the checkpointing does need some work. So I guess it's good that it's getting patched in.
Yeah, what I have yet to play it. I'm very keen to, but I've been traveling. It's my son's birthday. There's a lot of stuff going on. I haven't had a chance to play it, but the thing that I've heard that has actually made me want to play it more is that the first someone told me that the first 3 or 4 hours is the worst of the game. That a lot of the negative reviews are because it puts its worst foot forward and then kind of opens up and is much more fun after that. Is that a statement you agree with, or do you not see that?
I feel like I'm still coming out of those first few hours, so I would have to get past it to compare, but I can understand why, because it does take a while before you're kind of let loose to do what you want. And it's also like they're throwing a lot at you, and in terms of the story, the character development kind of leaves a lot to be desired. Like I feel like I'm still getting to know Kay, and like I'm kind of indifferent to her so far, but there's like allies that she meets in the very beginning that they very quickly move on from, and you're just like, oh, that person seems important to her. I wish we would have spent more time with them before we kind of got away from them. And there's like kind of like bios in the menu you can read, but just like that's not how you want it delivered, right? That should be supplementary, not like required. But there's and like the main story is still sort of like it's still trying to like reveal itself. Like so far I've done like a lot of the faction stuff, which is ultimately like the big hook with this game, is the dealing with the different crime factions and who you're gonna side with and who are you backstabbing. But like where I'm at, it's still very much focused on like, okay, I'm doing jobs for all these gangs and some hate me and some don't. But I'm almost losing the thread of like, well, I know her end goal is that she wants to just get away. Like she just wants to leave this life and make enough money to where her and her little furry friend Nix can just, basically live happily and off the grid. But like outside of that, it's like you're waiting for like, there's probably gonna be like something else. Like what is the primary threat or obstacle other than, these gangs, which so far of that stuff of like interacting with different gang leaders and juggling like your reputation with them, that stuff's been fun. Again, it's purely in like the smuggler fantasy of, oh, I'm in with this family enough to where I can access restricted areas I can just walk in now. Which is like, that's kind of cool. We're like, okay, you could sneak in if you want to and like get what you need. You just can't afford to get caught. So I kind of like having that choice of like, if I really want this now, I could sneak in, or if I want to make this easier, I could do some jobs for them. And then they'll just be like, yeah, come on in. Please steal from us. So I've liked that stuff, but I think it's still sort of like finding itself where I'm at right now. But I'm willing to sort of like give it that time, because I am liking it overall, despite some of my like early complaints with it.
That's Star Wars Outlaws, a very polarizing game, it seems.